Right, it's sort of slowed down, so I'm going to put on my video and say, hi everybody. Welcome to the first TMF reference model meeting of 2021. My name is Karen Roy. For those of you who haven't met me before, I am one of the co-chairs of the reference model and the chair of the steering committee for the reference model. Today, what we thought we'd do was actually take you a little bit back and sort of start the year afresh. So the first thing I wanted to do was say, happy 2021. A very strange year, and we are hoping for all of you to have a healthy and happy year. And here's hoping that this year is we're going to get back to some slight sense of normality. So, plan for today, and I'm actually going to turn my camera off, not that it actually makes a huge difference because you're looking at my slides, but this is the plan for today. We are going to, first of all, let me just turn my camera off. We are going to look at the history of the reference model. We are then going to look at the current status of the reference model, have an overview of any previous deliverables, talk about the current initiatives, and then talk about some of the potential initiatives and the upcoming TMF meetings, etc. But today is also about you. So I want to give you the opportunity to ask any questions that you want to ask. So it's an opportunity for you to come up with ideas and the questions that you've been sitting on, feel free to ask away. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is talk a little bit about how did we get here. And I'm going to apologize for any noise in the background. As you all know, we all work from home, and unfortunately my dogs don't like not being in the room with me. So how did we get here? Well, the TMF reference model really started with a, oh, hang on one second, I had a poll. Where did my poll go? Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to actually launch my first poll. Apologies, I wanted to launch my first poll now. So before we start, what I'd like you to do is just interact for a few seconds and just answer the poll questions that I've put up. So the questions I've put up are, where are you based? What type of company are you representing? And how many of these meetings have you attended? Thank you. And I know that there are 179 people on this call, so I should have at least 100 and, oh, I don't know, 30. Actually, they're coming in fast and furious now. Getting there, 157. Any more? For any more? No. Okay, let's end the polling and have a look. 106. Oh, that's amazing. Thank you. Everybody is obviously paying focus, because there's 167 out of 180 people have voted. That is amazing. So let me share the results. So very unsurprising to me, the majority of people are coming in from the States. We have one person from Africa, so welcome. I would be answering Africa for most of my life as well. So 3 from Asia, thank you very much, or 5 from Asia, and 39 from Europe. What type of company are you representing? 50% sponsor, 26 CRO, 8% consultant, 11% vendors, no regulators, 1 investigator site. Oh, we always like to have an investigator site, and a couple of others. So if anybody wants to have a chat, there's obviously the chat functionality. So if you want to say where you came, where you're from, if you're other, because I obviously don't know who they are, then please feel free to do so. And how many of the meetings have you attended? Now, I'm delighted that there are so many people that are saying that this is your first meeting, because it's always lovely to have new people join. And 30 people are here that have attended almost all of them. So that's impressive as well. So it shows you the sort of longevity of the TMF reference model. And then, of course, the last question. And if somebody wouldn't mind not everybody, but if somebody wouldn't mind just volunteering to take a screenshot of these results and send them to me, that would be great.
Got it, Karen.
Thank you very much. Perfect. And does your company use the reference model-based structure? Because that's the one I want to capture. 90% of the people of this 191 people on the call use the reference model. That is worth shouting from the rooftops about. And a 5% are not applicable. So you could actually say 95%. So only 4% on. So fantastic. Right, let me go back to the slides. And I think I have managed to keep the dogs quiet. So let's move on then and talk about a little bit about the history of the reference model. If anyone's got any questions or anything as we go through this, please put them in the chat. Feel free to just chat about anything or put any TMF questions, because we do want this to be interactive and quite relaxed in terms of chatting between people. So where did we get here? So we started off, the TMF reference model actually came out of an initiative of the DIA reference model, the EDM reference model, which was a model used by more the regulatory side of things to map to ECTDs. And there were some documents that in there that belonged in the TMF. And the thought was, well, you know, a couple of people can get together and define those documents and see where it goes to from there. Well, as you can all see, 191 of you on the call, and 11 years now later, the TMF reference model has really hugely grown. So the first meeting was in March 2009. A lady called Lisa Mulcahy, who is on the call today. Lisa, welcome. I'm sure we'll be introducing you properly later. And I went and started off pulling people together. And there's a lot of people on the call today who were there from the very beginning. People like Eldon and Jamie and lots of people who got involved right at the very start. Fran, most of them, a lot of people on the steering committee as well. And in June 2010, we had version one released. We then sat down with Andy Fisher at the MHRA, and he gave us some comments, and Cynthia Kleppinger and co at the FDA, and they gave us some comments. 1.1 came out. 1.2 had investigator site files. Version 2 had the initial look at devices and metadata. And then really when it came down to the sort of overall control of the reference model, in February 2014, what we did was we established what's called the steering committee. I'll talk a little bit more about the steering committee, very important because it shows that the reference model is managed to overall by a group of people from different types of companies, different locations, etc., to maintain that overall control. Version 2015 was the release of version 3, and Todd will remember that well because he managed that. And then 2018 was the release of the exchange mechanism, which we will talk about later as well. And we established a change control board in that period as well. So now the versions of the system are much more controlled overall. We had version 3.10 in October 2018, and November last year, we had release of version 3.2.0. So that's a little bit of the history. And what was the purpose of it? Well, the purpose of the reference model was really to standardize. When we first got together, we asked everyone to provide their TMF structures. And honestly, we must have had 50 different structures provided in all sorts of different formats. And we basically decided that we needed to try and bring everybody together into a standard set of contents, but not just the contents, but the structure. So that if you go to 111, you will see a TMF plan. If you go to 211, you will see the investigator brochure. And standard naming. We looked at ICH and we said, what are ICH calling everything? Let's try and stick to the ICH naming, or because a site selection visit was called about 5 different things. Well, probably more than that, actually. And we're trying to standardize so that everybody calls things the same things. And then, of course, standard metadata. Now, we don't have an extensive set of metadata in the reference model. What we have is some minimal metadata. And you'll see when we come to later that one of the initiatives that was suggested were to maybe look at some metadata. So what are the benefits that you gain by using the reference model? Now, it looks like I don't need to do a huge sales job on everybody on the call today. There's absolutely no doubt that having everybody use the same structure is hugely advantageous. So 26% of the people on here are CROs, 52% sponsors. Sponsors and CROs work together all the time. It's so much easier if everybody knows where to go for a specific document. We're following the same regulations, we're following the same processes. And more importantly for everybody, I think, is that inspectors are coming to see all of us. So now they know the reference model. They don't have to wonder where everything is or question the structure and the trial country site levels and all the different sort of ways in the zone sections and artifacts, because they're so used to it now. And of course, the other thing is that if you're bringing things together, it makes things a lot easier. Now, remember that when we get to the exchange mechanism, because that's really, really important. So how is it managed? And I've seen a couple of questions. I'm going to come back to the questions, but do everyone, thank you very much, Kimberly and Michelle. Feel free to answer any questions that are in the chat. So everyone keep your chat open. So how's it managed? It's under a formal charter. If you go onto the website, which we will talk about in quite great length today, you will see that there is a charter there for the steering committee and for the reference model as a whole. There are 14 people on the steering committee. I'm the chair. Alison from Astellas is the secretary, and the 14 members are very widely comprised. We have our own website, which hopefully you've all been to. There's a lot of people that go on the website. Unfortunately, sometimes the metrics of people accessing the website and downloading documents are a little difficult to interpret, because but there is lots and lots and lots of people going and visiting the website. And then, of course, there's the Change Control Board. So the first thing I'd like to do is talk a little bit about who manages it. So if I could ask, please, for anybody who is on the steering committee to please put their cameras on so we can say hello to everybody. And can somebody remind me how we just make it so the people who have got their cameras on show, or is that in Teams and not in Zoom? I can't ever remember.
There is a way to do that, Karen, but I think every individual has to do it, because I think you have to basically show something about the participants window and only showing participants whose camera's on, but I don't remember where it is.
Anyway, guys, if anybody can put their cameras on, and then you can scroll through the pictures and, oh, I can see everyone's got their cameras on now. Fantastic. Right. So I'm just going to run through everybody and everyone can just say hi so you can see who's on the steering committee. So you've met me. So Lisa.
Hello, everyone. Lisa Mulcahy.
Alison? I can't see everybody who's on because I'm sharing at the moment. So I know Mary hasn't got a camera on, but Mary can say hi because she can.
Hi, everyone. Yes, I'm not having my camera on today. Sorry.
No worries at all. Jamie?
Hi, Jamie Toth from Daiichi Sankyo.
And Fran? I haven't seen Fran yet. And Kathy. I saw Kathy, I think. There you are. Oh, you're on mute, Kathy.
Hi, this is Kathy Clark. I'm with NOF.
And Todd?
Hi, Todd Tullis here from Viva and coming to you from San Francisco today.
And Wendy? You're unmuted. I still can't hear you, but I can tell you that she's saying hello. I still can't hear you for some reason, Wendy. That's very weird because you're unmuted.
How about now?
Oh, perfect. Hi. And Paul.
Hi, everybody. Paul Fenton from Montreal. Nice to see you.
And David? I haven't seen David. And Russell?
Hello.
And Donna?
Hey everyone, Donna Dorsinski here. Good morning.
And nice background, Donna. And Sholay?
Hello everyone, Sholay Ekdai Van.
Nice to see you all.
So I have to say, I'd like to say a very big thank you to all these people, because they all give up their time to work very hard on the reference model to keep control of it. So thank you very much. And you don't need to keep your videos on. If you're welcome to keep them on, but you don't need to. Okay, so that's the steering committee. Now, the next thing is the change control board, and Joanne Malier is going to be joining us later. I don't think Joanne's on yet, but Joanne and Kelly run the change control board, and they have a huge job ahead of them in terms of looking at all the feedback that you give. There's the forums where people post comments and give feedback, and it's really, really important work that they do, and they're the ones that control the versions and the outputs. They meet twice a month, and they have a change control procedure and a RACI and a change record tracker, and basically they triage out to all the different zones. There are zone teams, and I know in the past several people have volunteered very kindly to be on those zone teams, and what they do is they look at feedback they get. So if somebody, for example, says, can you know, I think we should change this name to that, or however it might work, what they will do is they will go in, look at the comments, and take them from there. So just to give you a little bit of an idea about the version definition, there are different types of versions. So we have maintenance versions. So for example, 3.0.1, we have minor release versions, e.g. 3.1. We have major release versions, e.g. 4.0. And really the difference between them is that the maintenance releases are not supposed to be things that you should worry about implementing. It's just if you are starting with a reference model, this is where you would start. The minor release will have some bigger changes, but no compatibility issues. So again, a lot of people will ask questions such as, well, so how do we need to update from 3.1 to 3.2? How important is it? And really updating from something like 3.1 to 3.2 would only be done when it's relevant for your organization. So you would take a risk-based approach and say, look at what the changes are and say, is this something that really is going to make a big difference to me or not? But the major releases, version 4.0, and I'm sure one of the questions is going to be, when are you going to have a major release? We don't have a plan as yet, but a major release might be something that you would then have a real rethink about to say, okay, should we go from version 3 to version 4? For those of you who were using version 2 and then went to version 3, there was quite a lot of movement of artifacts, sub-artifacts, etc. Between the different zones, and so a lot of people did move over. So before I go and talk a little bit about the members, I just want to have a look back and see if there are any questions. So Dagmar, you had a question where you were planning on changing from your company specific reference model to the TMF reference model, and does anyone have any suggestions for switching? Michelle had commented on developing a map and training people on the new location, and naming conventions was another area that people were talking about. Now, if anyone's got any other ideas or suggestions, that will be fantastic if you can put them into the map. But I agree completely with Michelle and Kimberly about developing a map, but also maybe thinking about whether you're going to go retrospectively or whether you're going to go just for the future. So whether you stop with where you are and then just for new studies, or whether you move studies in, and I think that's a risk-based approach as well. Felicia, there's a question, are vendors starting to develop a method to have both models in an eTMF? And when you say both models, Felicia, are you, and steering committee, if anybody wants to jump in, by the way, feel free. When you talk about both models, are you talking about like 3.1 and 3.2 or 3.3 and 4, or are you talking about something else? Oh, so thank you for clarifying, Felicia. So so the question is, would vendors have both version 3 and version 4 in the system? That's very much a vendor question. because people will manage things differently. But I have absolutely, across lots of different TMF systems, seen it where some studies are in version 3, for example, and then version 4 is implemented and the new studies are put into version 4. I have equally seen people taking everything in version 3 and mapping it and moving it into version 4. And there was a question that's been asked about, we're starting using version 3.2.0, should we wait for version 4? No, because version 4 will be a while off, and you should just go with whatever we're always going to think about retrospective fitting to make sure that we give people a map on how to go from version 3.1 to 3.2, 3.2 to 3.3, 3.3 to 4, etc. So Tina, you've asked a really good question. I'm going to hold on to your question, which is, we didn't know about the update. How do we get 3.2? Just hold that question and I'll come back to it, because I'm going to show you everything you need to know shortly. Okay, so as I said, I'm just chattering away here. So if anybody has any comments they want to make or anything they want to add, please feel free to do so. I'm going to talk a little bit about the members. So for those, especially for those of you that are new, we have two different types of members. We have what's called a project team member. So the project team members are the members who are actively involved in initiatives. And I'm going to talk about initiatives in a bit, so you'll see some information on that. Then we have 1,291 mailing list subscribers. So a mailing list subscriber is someone who's gone onto the reference model website and has logged in and has registered, and so they get the updates. So if you're a mailing list subscriber, you should get emails from me reasonably regularly to tell you about the release of 3.2, to tell you about when the meetings are, etc., etc., etc. So Tina, I don't know if you've logged into the reference model website, but if you haven't, it's probably a good thing to do. And then we also have a LinkedIn group, and some of you may have come from the LinkedIn group, where we've got 3,300 members. Now, this used to be our main place to communicate with everybody, but we've actually really moved it into the reference model website, etc. But we still post things on the LinkedIn group, and we still get people to answer questions on there as well. Just one very important comment. Make sure webadmin@tmfrefmodel.com is on your email whitelist. You may find that sometimes the emails don't get through. Unfortunately, lots of spam blockers and things means that sometimes these emails get blocked. So talk to your IT department if you don't get the emails coming through. So we ran a survey about the TMF reference model in terms of the usage of the TMF reference model, and the survey showed that 82.32% used it. So what's really not, and obviously 10% is not applicable, is that actually the percentage of people on this call is actually more than that. So that's fantastic news. Right, so before I go to the deliverables to date, I'm just going to, Susan, there was a question from you, does it matter if your system is built on 3.0? No, it doesn't at all. 3.0, 3.1, 3.2 are all, they are new, they are small incremental versions that have been produced. The basic principle is the same. Even if you're still working on version 2, it's fine, because at the end of the day, the TMF is about the documents to tell the story of the study. It's not about having an extensive list and just following that particular list. So no worries at all. So deliverables to date. So we've worked very hard over the 10 years that we've been doing the reference model. And over those years, we've delivered a lot of different documents. And I thought it was a good idea at the start of the year. Well, we thought it was a good idea at the start of the year to actually tell you a little bit about those deliverables and walk through the deliverables. And some of them we think need a refresh. So this is where we're going to be bringing in other people from the steering committee to talk about them. As people are putting up questions, that's fantastic. I will answer them at the appropriate time. So Daniel, I'll come back to yours later because it's appropriate to answer it later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you to the website. Of course, I am currently sharing my screen, so I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to start sharing this screen. So can I just confirm that I'm now sharing the website?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, excellent. We're on 218 people. That's really exciting. Okay, so this is the TMF. Mine looks slightly different because Eldon lets me be administrator, which is always a bad idea. But so ignoring this black bar along the top, this is what should look like when you log into the website, where you click on the website. So www.tmfrefmodel.com, you should have the home page. And I don't know how many of you have been here, but we have a lot of really, really useful information. So this is where you have posts, you can subscribe to things. This is where you'll see new events coming up and get your calendars. You've got lots of useful links, and you've got comments on discussions. I'm going to walk you through a little bit through this overall website. You'll notice that mine doesn't say join. If up here yours says join, that's because I'm already logged in. But if I was to log out, it would say join. Now, if you've not joined this website, I would strongly recommend that you go in, you click join, and then you either choose to be a subscriber or to be part of a group, part of the sort of active groups. And if you want to be part of the active groups, you need to pick a group. And so you would then be getting involved in an initiative. But at a minimum, go in and subscribe to this. So what we've got here is, I'm not going to go through every single thing, but we do have a news page. We've got the forums. The forums are where you can post questions. Now, if you subscribe to the forums, you'll see that we've got general discussions, where do I file, etc., etc. Now, you'll notice one called email communications. And so I'm going to come back and talk about email communications. Well, I'm not, Jamie is, in a little bit. But there's all sorts of things. So if you want to post something, you could go in to the forum, and you can go and you can raise a topic. You can create a post. Here you are, creating a new topic, and you can just put a title in and put some questions. Anything you want to ask, it will get emailed out to everyone who subscribes, and then you can actually follow all the forums. So a very useful place to go. You've got about the model, which is where you will participate, where you go and you join your working groups. And Eldon's very kindly put the link to go in and register. And you've got information about the steering committee, etc., etc. You've got the exchange mechanism is information about the exchange mechanism. We're going to talk a little bit about that later, so I'm not going to tell you too much information. And you've got a variety of other things. But the place I really want to go to today is resources. So the resources is where you will find everything. Don't forget, there's a resources archive. So if you can't find, if something's missing, then there is an archive that you can go to find something that you thought, I'm sure it was there before. Okay, so what have we got? We've got the reference model version 3.2.0. And so therefore, going back to your question, Tina, if you've been a subscriber, you should have had an email to say that this has been released, and it's all on the website. So this is where you get 3.2, the release notes, and you've also got 3.1 and the release notes for 3.1 here as well. All the older versions are in the archive. Now, you've also got all the team meetings. And one of my jobs, which I'm going to do, I promise I will be doing early this year, is to actually go through each of these and produce a categorization so that you know if you want to learn about the QC, the certified copy process, it was discussed on the meeting on June the 22nd, for example. Because at the moment, unfortunately, all it does is it tells you the dates. And if you go to the archive, you get all the previous ones. So there will be a summary table. I had hoped to do it for today, but I didn't, I'm afraid. You've got resources for the current. So if you're going about to use it, there's an implementation guide and a user guide. They're both there to give you some information. And then there's a couple of presentations around and webinars around the reference model. The exchange mechanism is where all the information about the exchange mechanism is stored. And when we come to that, after we've done this piece, Elvin will tell you all about the exchange mechanism. Okay, so this is where we have, I'm going to just show you very quickly, there's some miscellaneous stuff at the bottom and some survey information. But the TMF tools are where we have some of our key deliverables. So all of them can just be downloaded by clicking on there, and there you are. So you get your deliverable. So Jamie, can I ask you to talk a little bit about this one? Well, not that we're going to be revising this one, but more about what's happening coming up.
Sure. Thanks, Karen. So this Friday, myself, Jamie Toth, along with Russell Joyce and Mark Mercer, who were the lead authors for this guidance, will be conducting a webinar and going through questions that people have, more of a deeper dive into the actual guidance itself. Sometime in December, an email was sent out to all members of the TMF Reference Model Working Group so that you would have the Zoom information in order to attend. And I know I've been posting it on LinkedIn also for people to sign up as well. So we will go through all the constructs of this document. It's around 20 pages, and we'll give you our own experience as well for different things such as filing locations, email formats, responsibility, and things like that.
Fantastic. And I have to say that the Zoom information is, thank you, Eldon. So Eldon has posted the information for the email webinar. So if you look at the chat and you click on the link, that will give you the Zoom details. And so therefore you will be able to go and get them from there. They are also going to be on one of the slides in the pack. The slides will be put up on the website shortly after the meeting. So you will be able to go in and get that from there as well. So definitely a useful one to look at. So just very quickly, the Real World Study Document Index came out relatively recently, July 2020, and this is a specific index for real world studies. We've also got the TMF plan template. Everyone should be using TMF plans, and that's that. Jamie led that, so that's there with some feedback. And there's a document on date conventions. So what we've done looking at all of these deliverables is say, we actually think that some of these deliverables could be revised. It might be worth just sort of looking at the deliverables and doing a refresh. So the first one we looked at was TMF quality control. So Sholeh, you were going to talk about the TMF quality control, is that right?
Yes, thank you, Karen. So TMF quality control, we put this guidance document together 4.5, almost 5 years ago, which is completely unbelievable. And the good thing about what we have is we have a really good starting point. Whereas before, when we created this document, we went from nothing. So I think we have a really good starting point. And at this point, it just needs to kind of be updated, taking into consideration ICH GCP release 2, which of course we're getting ready for release 3 now, but taking into consideration that some of the technology that has kind of pushed us forward into 2021, and looking at some of the regulatory requirements, also getting some best practices from some of you all. So all of those things taking into consideration, just kind of, like you said, Karen, making a refresh of this document.
And just confirming, I'm just checking, I am sharing the document, aren't I?
Yes. This is
yep,
the
okay,
correct
no, absolutely.
version.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we will be asking for people who will be interested in getting involved in these. So if TMF quality control is one of the ones that we decide we'd like to do a complete, refresh on, today is about getting your feedback as well. So you'll be voting on the relevance of this for you as well. Then it would be lovely to get you involved.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sholeh. So the next one to talk about is inspection readiness, and I had actually opened So over to you, Donna, and which document would you like me to open? Is it the RACI?
Yeah, why don't you start by opening the RACI and then we'll open the FAQs. So we'll just start with the RACI.
I think I had
So
actually opened
as
the
you can
RACI.
see, this has been around for quite a while as well. And if you just go over to the worksheet, I can't see the bottom. Yeah, there's a actual worksheet with the RACI content in it. So these are the folks who were involved. So what this is what we did when we did this, we broke it down into all the tasks that you would need to do for getting ready for an inspection as it relates to the TMF. And then we said, this is important if you have a paper TMF, this is important if you have an eTMF, and then the different tasks that were associated with it. And then we created a tool that you could use within your company to identify who was responsible for each of those tasks. And so obviously it was completed. It's been 4 years since it was completed. And I think the inspections today that we're preparing for, they look a little bit different. A lot of us are preparing for virtual inspections. And so this really wasn't even a factor that we considered when we developed this. And could you go to the FAQs, please, Karen?
Absolutely. 1 second. Hold on. FAQs.
Thanks. And so this we actually published in 2017. And this was when you're preparing for an inspection, what are some of the questions that you want to potentially anticipate around the inspection? And what we did is we broke it down into different tasks like archiving, the TMF itself, the rooms that will be used, outsourcing and how it works, scanning. We broke them down into all the different categories and then the questions that are associated with it. So like or the questions that you might get. And again, this is several years old. And so I think the questions that we got 4 years ago and the questions we get today have evolved. And so I think there's a lot of value in going back and looking at this and determining what some additions might be, some information we want to consider with kind of our new culture for inspections.
Fantastic. Thank you, Donna. And I completely agree. I think if there's one thing we get asked, it's about inspections all the time. So not that I'm saying the others aren't important. It's just it's the one that people ask so many questions about. So
and we're so challenged today. There's just so many challenges that we've encountered in the last year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Couldn't agree. So thank you very much. Much appreciated. Kathy, the last one to walk through is the metrics. Have I opened the right one for you first?
Could you open the PowerPoint first, please?
Of course. Hold on. Let me just make sure. There you are. That's what I need. Oh, it's on the wrong screen. 1 second. You are. There you go.
And could you go forward just one slide to the table of contents? So hi, everyone. This is Kathy Clark again. And just a few words about the work we did. And I can't believe this, again, it was back in mid-2014 when we published this. So this document that we're looking at right now is really a document that talks you through a metrics program. Why do you want it? What do you want to accomplish with it? How much you design the metrics and the analytics, and how much you implement such a project. So I think probably a lot of this information is still good, but there's always new things to think about. And then Karen, if you can switch to the spreadsheet where we talk about the actual metrics. And if we go to the, so this is a little bit of background. Some of you are probably familiar with Metrics Champion Consortium, and we took some of our concepts from the way that they lay out metrics. They since have done their own TMF metrics initiative, I believe, and we haven't attempted to reconcile those two things because our model is obviously a publicly available model and theirs is a subscription model. But if we go to the next tab, Karen, no, sorry, the previous one where it says metrics defined. There we go. This was a definition of a number of metrics that our working group considered, why they might be valuable to you, what you would use them for, how you might measure them, and so forth. So this was meant to be a starting point for a metrics program where you look at what you might want to think about measuring and what purpose you would measure it for. And then you start to prioritize this based on what information is important to you and also what information is readily available and what information might be more work to extract from your system, whether it's electronic or paper. And then if you go to the analysis tab, Karen, that's just one more thing, talks a little bit about why you might want to look at this by site or by study or by contributor to the TMF or different things, what you would get out of slicing these metrics in many different ways. So I think some of the things that may have changed since then, and there's probably others, and the industry has certainly become more mature, and also the fact that we're starting to get some artificial intelligence in our TMFs. Maybe there's things we would want to measure that either we couldn't measure before, maybe we want to measure the effectiveness or accuracy of the AI. Those are just some things that occur to me that you might want to, or might merit an update to these documents. But again, looking for your ideas on how well this is standing up after 6.5 years. So I'll definitely be looking forward to that feedback.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Kathy. So they are the three initiatives or deliverables that we think would be worth looking at. And what I'd like to do very quickly is launch a poll just to ask you, of those three documents, which one would you say would be the most interesting or useful to you to have a refresh? So this is the one that I think would be the most useful for people to look at again. Oh, interesting. You can't see what I can see. So Kathy, Donna, and Sholeh, I'd like you to tell me which one you think is going to come out on top.
I think inspection readiness. Yeah.
Okay. You two sounded like you spoke at the same time exactly. But I think you both said inspection readiness. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So hang on.
Donna, I agree.
So you think inspection readiness as well?
I do.
Okay. Shall I put you out your suspense?
Please do.
Well, that's good. So we've had 172 people voting. 174. That's amazing. Guys, I'm really appreciative of the fact that you're actively participating in this call. That's fantastic. 176. Okay, I'm going to end the polling and I'm going to share the results. Ta-da!
Yeah.
So if someone could do the same thing and just send me a copy of that, I'll stick it in the slides. But yes, inspection readiness doesn't surprise me at all. But there's plenty of interest in quality control and metrics. It's just that I think inspection readiness is so, should we say, far, so different now with all the hang on, stop sharing. I'm going to stop sharing for a second. It's so different at the moment. I think it makes a big difference. Yeah, it makes.
And just a comment on that, it's Donna. The other two walk hand in hand with inspection readiness, right? You need metrics in QC to actually be inspection ready. So I think, all three topics are really important.
Oh, no, absolutely. And actually just looking, I will go back to the two questions earlier, but Rochelle's made a comment reviewing the sponsors' SOPs to make sure they had flex to allow for AI coding. Interesting to see how others are dealing with it as it interacts with inspection readiness and QC standards. But metrics, absolutely, Kathy, you're right. I think the AI side of things will change things quite significantly. Right, let me reshare a screen. So that's the screen I want to share now. So I'm jumping between. Hopefully you can see the screen that I'm sharing. Hang on one second. Now is the one with the reference model analytics on. Hopefully that's correct? Analytics, the active initiatives, sorry. So the active initiatives that we have ongoing, there is an initiative for devices at the moment. It's approaching being finished and is in sort of liaison with the change control board at the moment. We will be presenting on the sort of the roadmap for the reference model at one of the other meetings once we've had some meetings with the change control board on that. But the other active initiative is the exchange mechanism. So I would like to ask Elvin, I'm assuming it's you that's talking today, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Excellent. So Elvin, if I can hand over to you, please, to talk about the exchange mechanism standard survey.
Yeah, hi, everybody, and Happy New Year. Yeah, so the first one, I'll just start out saying that what we are doing is we are running a survey now for what is most important for people so we can implement the right solutions for it. And so if you already know that it's important, please just go and take the survey. And Karen, do you still have the website open? I would like just to jump people so they can see where they can take it if you go to the website.
I do. Just give me 1 second though, because hold on. No, hang on. I can do it this way.
You need to share it.
Yeah, no, no. I think, can you see the website now?
Yeah, up at if you go to the menu up for the exchange mechanism and then go under news. So all the way at the top. Exchange mechanism. No, exchange mechanism.
Oh, so apologies.
No, you're there. You're just in the middle of the screen.
Yeah, no, I know, but I'm hang on, I need to go to exchange
and then
mechanism.
news.
There you are.
Correct. And just so you can see where it is, and if you scroll down just a little, then there's a link. And then please just go there now and don't stop listening to me and just take it so we can get it in. And we have a lot of vendors that are already taking it. And we have different use cases we are asking for. So yeah, please go in and do that. But else, what I'll talk about if we go back to the slides.
There you go.
Yeah, just the next one.
Oops.
So yeah, it is of course a technical standard, but it's also about the common business language and how we implement it. So in the end, you're doing it for business purposes. So what I'll talk a little about is why this is important. So if you'll do the next one, please. Yeah, so the first one, what is it does? So when we normally communicate on a regular basis, we have these elements that goes into it. And the first part is a mechanism. And so when people talk, you speak, for instance, and then you use your mouth and it goes to people's ear. Or you can use your handwriting and then you use your eyes to read it. And next one. So if we translate that into how the exchange mechanism or any system actually does, a system use APIs instead. So when we think about what we use in a human world, or mouth and ears, hands and eyes, in a technical world, we use APIs. And then you also have a component in the middle that's called a parser that you will use for that. So that's where the exchange mechanism come in. And hopefully we can standardize that over time. So, and next one. Then you also have a common language. And why is that important? And I think maybe most people don't think about it, but some people speak French, others speak Chinese or Danish as myself. And you wouldn't, probably many here would not understand me if I was speaking Danish. So therefore, we have a common language, which are English. So this is why we can communicate and transfer and understand what we're doing. And even if we put things in writing, most of our documents are in English. But next one, Karen. So in the exchange mechanism, what is our common language and how we can communicate? And that's where the TMF reference model and the coding we have in there. So the one that Karen talked about, we started in 2009. The whole background for why we need it is so we have a common language so we can actually talk and don't have just individually that. And the last component, Karen, if you put in, that's a shared protocol. And if you're speaking, the shared protocol is sound wave, or if you're actually writing, is your pen and paper you're using to put it on. And if in an exchange mechanism, Karen, the last component here, that's what we do today is we use XML, and that's what the TMF exchange mechanism is doing. It gives us an XML standard to actually, we can share this information in. And later on, we'll probably go into other possibly protocols that can be used, but for now, our industry standard is generally XML. So why do we do that, and why is this important? And that's, if you do the next one, Karen, it all comes down to, do you collaborate? And yeah, do you collaborate with sponsors, CROs, study sites, and we have some here, IRBs and labs, and you can take the next one, Karen, that's fine. And how can you do this efficiently? And it all comes down to, you need to ensure quality from the beginning, and quality by design. And I think this is one of the big ones we'll see in 2021 when E6R3 comes out. Quality by design is expected to be a big component in this. So we need to be able to transfer this quality we have actually done from the beginning. Next one. And that means you want to do the issues as early as possible, and you want to make it easy and cheap to fix. So you want to capture it in the beginning. And then customers, you don't want to recheck the work you have done from the beginning. So you only want to do risk-based sampling. And next one, Karen. And then you also want to do oversight, and this comes down to doing it real time and oversight with minimal effort and fast as possible. And you can do the next one, Karen. And this is where the TMF exchange mechanism come in, because what it means is you can preserve the quality you have done at either the site, CRO, IRB, or lab, and then you can exchange it between, you can transfer your GCP between collaborators so you don't have it. So it's all about getting it right the first time, capturing it, preserving it, and then transferring it. And some of the questions that was asked also out in the comments about migration. It can even be used for that. That could be from one version of the reference model to another, because you want to preserve what you have and then get it into a new version. And then, yeah, Karen, we can end it up here. It all comes down to, we want to make it easier. So when you've done it once, then it should be easy to do for us. And that's, of course, the vendors need to get in and do it, but we need to find out which use cases is most important. And what we are expecting, you can do the last one here, Karen, is that hopefully either by the next group meeting here or general meeting or the subsequent one, we should have preliminary data we can present from this survey. So again, a link here to it, and hopefully you go out and take it. And if there's any questions, I'm gladly answering them here.
Thank you very much, Alvin. I'm sure people will post. I realize I'm slightly short on time, so I wanted to just fly through. Thank you very much, Alvin, much appreciated. I wanted to just fly through some of the potential new initiatives. Now, these are the new initiatives. So we talked about doing a refresh of the current, some of the current deliverables, but we've also talked about other things that we can do. Now, what we've done to get this information is we've looked at the survey. There was a question 53, where everybody was up giving their ideas. We've had feedback from people, and there's a couple of ideas that have come up today as well. But the 2019 survey suggested a number of new themes. I'm going to run you through these, and I'm actually going to ask you for any other ideas, but also ask you to do a vote on these. So have a look at these as we go through and say which. So you're going to have to pick one that you think is the most important initiative for us to do, because one of the most important things is we don't try and overpromise, because then you underdeliver. So a reference model training course. Now, this wouldn't necessarily be done just with the reference model team. There are other groups out there that have done reference model training, but whether we have a formal reference model training course that you can come to the website and you can download. Obviously, this is not necessarily a course that we would charge for if it's just something that you would download from a website, or whether there are courses that people will go and attend, in which case there may be a cost depending on how they're being organized, etc. The second one that was suggested was that we should make sure that all study types are covered and really look at every different study type. We've got real world studies covered. We've got devices coming in. We've got investigator initiated studies. We had suggestions for early phase, which we've tried before and really struggled with, but whether we should revisit all the different study types. Another suggestion from the survey and from people's input is to really try and bring clinical and regulatory together. So to say what's the overlap between the TMF and the CTA submission documents. It's already in the reference model. It's already got a column for the EDM reference model, but do we need to take it further? Investigator site file. Investigator site file is one of those ones that has come round and round and round and round, and we talk about it all the time, but how important is it to you guys? Clustering relationships, by that I mean grouping events, process driven, so basically trying to work out which documents go together and how they go together. A metadata, a definitive set of minimum metadata per artifact. So at the moment we have very limited metadata in the reference model. And obviously we're looking for other ideas as well. So Katie, I can see you've put an idea, a mentor program to support younger colleagues just getting started in the TMF. Oh, thanks, Kathy. Sorry, EDM reference model doesn't cover CTA, only covers US and EU. So it's really about bringing the whole thing together. And of course, in Europe, we've got the new applications coming through. The other thought that we had earlier, which came from Daniel Robinson, was planned on expanding the model for filing of documents related to digital solutions, wearable devices, etc. Which is a very interesting sort of concept, I think, because the world is changing. Guidance on oversight of third-party TMFs. Now, that's an interesting one because we actually, hopefully everyone's looking at the chat, but we've talked, Teresa, we've talked about maybe even looking at sort of research papers with guidance on oversight. It's not part of the TMF reference model. And one of the things that's really important to us is to make sure that what we produce as a TMF reference model is directly related to the TMF. In the past, sometimes we've sort of gone outside our remit, and so we need to make sure we keep this covered. Obviously, we'll keep all the chat to make sure we have all this information. And I'm going to issue a poll. Thank you, Todd. Sorry, I have a poll. Don't go, everybody, don't go yet. Hold on. I need to, no, I don't want to do that. End polling. 1 second. I want to, new initiatives, launch my poll. Please, everybody, before you go, there's 215 of you left. Please do answer the question. Which one of these would be the most interest or usefulness to you? I can see, Rebecca, that you've suggested robust process around completeness, tools and practices. Thank you, Todd. I hadn't realized what the time was. So perfect. Okay, we're getting there. So if you want to vote, make sure you vote on the app. We've had 168. Come on, guys, nearly there. Right, that's brilliant. I'm going to close the poll now because we've had 87 people out of 211 voting. So that's fantastic. So drum roll. TMF reference model training course. And I'm not surprised. I think that's a very interesting information. Can someone please take a snip of that and send it to me so I can stick it in the slides, please? Thank you very much, whoever did that, because it was much appreciated. Okay, so in the last minute, I feel really bad because we had a question which we're going to have to try and do by email, which was around using Teams and Zoom and how are you capturing the information. And I'm very sorry, Sally, I ran out of time to actually ask the question. But if anybody wants to look at that and put some thoughts into the Q&A, I just want to get to the end of it. But if anyone has any thoughts on how to manage Teams, Zoom, etc., please put the comments into the chat. And then I'm just going to go very quickly and say, there's the email communication guidance workshop on Friday. Hashtag TMF is too much fun. Email communications more fun. Only Jamie could have come up with that one. Brilliant. There's the Clinical Document World, 24th, 26th of February. There's going to be a FIRS TMF Summit sometime in April and an IQPC GCP. I have no idea if they're doing their course. That's the email communication guidance information. And the next meeting is on the 1st of March. So with that, I'm going to just go back to the questions and put that up. Karen Williams has come with a suggestion of how to manage CRO oversight becoming new change now. And there was one other question which was raised about from Avite saying, has anyone got experience with the CRO uploading TMF documents directly into the sponsor eTMF? I have to say that oversight sounds like a good topic for another meeting, not necessarily a document, but another meeting. And so maybe we will keep that as a suggestion for the meeting. So without further ado, if anybody has any thoughts on how to manage Team and Zooms, we'll put it in a chat as well. Without further ado, I'll say thank you very much. Sorry, I went over by a couple of minutes. And hang on, there you are. That's the one I want to leave it on. So Thank you very much. So if anybody has not received the invitation for today, I would suggest that you need to register on the website to get the information. If you've registered on the website and you didn't get an email for today, it means that your IT group has blocked it. And the other places you can see it are by going to the website or by looking on LinkedIn, etc., etc. So thank you very much, everybody. Great attendance. We had 220 people, which was brilliant.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you.
Pleasure. Bye.